Hello, my name is Matthew Phipps, and I chose the leopard slug, scientifically called Limax maximus, for my species presentation. And I chose this because these used to hang out in the outdoor shower at my house all the time, so they'd be walking around my feet. So figured I'd learn more about them. So they are animals. They're mollusks. They're in the phylum Mollusk, which is the same as mussels, uh, octopi, um, clams too, other shellfish. And slugs actually do have a shell, but it's on the inside of their body, so it's not so noticeable. Not like a snail. They're in the class Gastropoda, which is snails and slugs. Order Pulmonata, which means it breathes air with a lung, not a gill, and you'll see more of that on the next slide. Um, the family Limicidae, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, is that means it has a keel, and you'll see that on the next slide too. There's certain slugs with backs with keels, and other slugs without them. The genus Limax means it's a slug, and Maximus means biggest. So quite literally, Limax maximus just means biggest slug. And it's actually not the biggest slug, but it's one of the bigger ones. You can also find it being called the Great Gray Garden Slug or the Tiger Slug. So this isn't a leopard slug, but this was a good diagram of, where things are on slugs. So you can see on the back there's the keel, and certain slugs have it and certain slugs don't. The spotted leopard slug does. So then if we look towards the face, slugs have two optic tentacles that can move around independently, and they also smell, not only see, which is pretty cool. The sensory tentacles are kind of more feeling and taste. This opening on the side, the pneumostome, that's used for breathing. It's essentially an air hole. Um, and then the genital opening is right kind of behind that. And we'll see that in more detail in another slide too. The mantle is this fleshy lobe up top. You can see the slug is kind of divided, almost, there's 2/3 on the back and 1/3 in the front. And the mantle is this kind of fleshy lobe thing, and that's where the shell is, under there. And then on the bottom of the slug, there's the foot, and there's the skirt, which is the very bottom. And then you can also see some people call the bottom the sole too, like a shoe. So the leopard slug originated in Europe and like northern Africa, so Egypt, Morocco, around there. And then it slowly spread. You can see on this map. This is a map from the Encyclopedia of Life website. And this is like reported spottings and findings of leopard slugs. You can find them. You can see there's not a lot in Asia, but for the most part, they really like humidity. They like damp places, so you're not gonna find them in deserts or really cold places where everything's frozen, because they wouldn't be able to live there. And on a smaller scale, the habitat. The leopard slugs really like human homes. I'm not sure why, but from reading online, I guess they show like a liking for human homes, but not in Ireland. Only in Ireland they don't seem to have this affinity for hanging around human dwellings, which I thought was pretty weird. But yeah, they really like moisture. I read online that if they're not like covered in slime, if they're not moist enough, they actually can't breathe, so they suffocate to death when they dry out. So yeah, they hang in dark, moist places, basements, gardens, stuff like that. outdoor showers in my case. So the way that the leopard slug reproduce, it's probably the thing I found the most interesting. So they're hermaphrodites, which mean they have both male and female reproductive organs. So gender is, not so much of a problem. Finding a mate's a lot easier because any other leopard slug is a potential mate. So the way they do this, so first there's a courting. There's this courting thing that happens where they circle each other and lick each other for hours, which is pretty wild. And then after that is done, they climb up a tree. They get to some high point, commonly a tree. I guess they could use another high point. And then they intertwine, which you can see in this picture here. They descend from the twig, hanging on this slime rope, and then they exchange sperm, which you can see happening in here. You can see the genital opening opens up, so they can exchange sperm. And then they climb back up the slime rope. You can just see the top of it at the top of this picture, and eat the slime rope as they go, which I thought was pretty unbelievable. And then they go their separate ways. They don't really stay together, but each mate will lay hundreds of eggs after. So there's a good chance that at least some of those will survive. What do they eat? So the leopard slug is an omnivore. It eats plants and animals. It's a detrivore, which means it cleans up fungus, dead plants, kind of like a decomposer. They are cannibals. They are cannibalistic. They will eat other leopard slugs, and they'll pursue other slugs at a top speed of 6 inches per minute, which is pretty heated. And because they can eat crops faster than they grow, it's considered a major pest in the U.S. Leopard slugs are eaten by turtles, birds, toads, and of course, like we mentioned before, other leopard slugs. How can you identify a leopard slug? First off, the easiest thing for me is obviously the spots on the back, very reminiscent of a leopard. They're generally 10 to 20 centimeters. The adults, out of all the ones I've seen, I've probably never seen one anywhere that much bigger than maybe 10 centimeters. And they do have that keel, which we talked about before, and you can see it really well in this picture on the right. It has that super prominent ridge instead of just a flat back. And that's it. These are my references. Thanks for listening.